Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of How Did This Get Booked? I, of course, am your host, Jake Manning, and I'm joined as always with my co-host, Zane Riley. Zane, how are you doing, my friend?
I'm great, Jake. How are you?
Very, very good. We haven't seen each other all that much recently.
No.
That's no news till late, but it's always joyous to getting together with you here on the podcast.
And recording phenomenal podcasts.
Phenomenal podcast about subpar wrestling.
About not phenomenal wrestling.
Not phenomenal wrestling. And as always, us being friends, we have to drag other people along down with us.
So we can lose those friends.
So we can lose those friends and so it's just you and me together.
This bike gang is not really going to shape up to many members come this summer.
Yes, we're trying to scare off as many people away from us as possible. And one of the people that are in here today, our non-wrestling fan, is comedian Eik Eikenberry. Thank you very much for joining us, Eik.
I appreciate you guys working me into your podcasting schedule.
I appreciate you and your busy schedule. My schedule is always in flux. It's one of those things of setting your own hours. You can kind of do whatever the fuck you want. But anyways, Eik, you are a non-wrestling fan on the show, and I start off the podcast by just talking about what is your background, what is your exposure to professional wrestling, what do you know about it? What are your thoughts on it?
I used to be pretty dominant as Papa Shango on the old WWF game for Nintendo.
Okay.
And from there, these guys asked me to watch a video so I could do a podcast with them.
Okay, so that is your extent and knowledge of professional wrestling.
Absolutely.
So intermediate.
Okay, so you've qualified as non-wrestling fan. I'm waiting for the day when we do this podcast and somebody's like, oh, I followed it since I was 14, got back into it about 25.
Did you watch it last night? Click.
So yes, you qualify as being the non-wrestling fan, and boy, did we subject you to a doozy.
Or a don't see.
I don't see. Either or. I subjected you to the UWF, Herb Abrams UWF, I should specify. I don't know if in your search or anybody else's searches you looked up the original UWF, which was owned by Bill Watts back in the day, which is actually a really good wrestling promotion. But funny, the reason the UWF came to existence and Herb Abrams was able to use those letters is because Bill Watts never copyrighted UWF.
Perfect.
But Bill Watts was a rough and tumble individual. I'm sure he would just beat the shit out of somebody if they ever used it. But he obviously never got his hands on Herb Abrams. But this is the inaugural pay-per-view event of UWF entitled Beach Brawl. It took place on June 9th, 1991, the attendance for the show was 550 people. It was held at the Manatee Civic Center in Palmetto, Florida. The pay-per-view got a buy rate of 0.1. I don't know exactly what the numbers are. Yeah, I don't know exactly what the numbers are for 0.1, but I can imagine it's not good. So,
Probably around 1.
Yes. 1 something. But anyways, it starts off with a video package where they say tradition, fundamentals, and essentials of showmanship are the foundation of professional wrestling. Can we all agree with this?
Have to. There's a small video package about it.
Exactly. I couldn't not agree with that.
Exactly. Showing clips of Bruno Sammartino and Gorgeous George on this. I don't know if they had the legal rights to show this clip or any of these clips, but especially since I think he was holding the WWF title at the time, and that footage should be owned by WWF at the time. So they basically showed their competitors' footage on their inaugural pay-per-view.
But luckily that wasn't one of the people that watched.
And, of course, this is the time where they run down all of the matches. Right away, there was already a mistake. Don Morocco was not a part of this pay-per-view event, but it was very hard to probably change his video package, especially in 1991. I don't know what type of editing software they used at the time.
On the Tandy, yeah.
They're probably still mixing VHS tapes at this time. I don't think the video toaster was quite invented yet.
Cutting it with hatchets.
Yeah, snips and scissors.
Also, too, I think we need to make point of the fact that when they got time to introduce Colonel LeBeers, he was with Mr. Black.
That was both the most uncomfortable / my favorite part of the viewing experience.
For sure. And, of course, the big reveal the belt when it is about the $100,000 UWF Sports Channel Championship belt. Already putting sponsors on the belt. But anyways, it ends with a Bam Bam Bigelow and Dr. Death promo. After hearing both these men talk in the intro video, Ike, are you excited for this pay-per-view and this main event?
I can't give you reasons why, but as they were previewing what each match on the card was going to be, I immediately made lifelong connections with someone in each match and would have been brought to tears had I not batted 1,000 predicting who was going to win every match.
Oh, good. It's nice to know that. you are a prognosticator of professional wrestling. Congratulations. Then after this video package, it just hard cut right to a shot
All we need.
of the Manatee Civic Center, very poorly lit behind you.
It costs too much to
Absolutely.
keep those lights on.
Yes.
I was concerned you were going to say that the attendance was in the 40s, and that was the reason they were like, let's just drop all the lights in the background.
Don't look up there.
Exactly.
Up there, we don't have it up there.
Just tarps.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, that's the thing. Like 550 for how big this place is probably
Looks about 40.
Looked about 40. Especially some of these guys who've been on WrestleManias before. like a couple of these guys have wrestled in front of WrestleMania 3, which was 90,000 people. And now they're here at the Manatee Civic Center.
In front of 90 people.
Yeah, literally 4 years apart. So,
Wedged in between a father-daughter dance and bingo night.
Yep, I had to get them out.
yeah, that's the thing. The Civic Center, there might be like some sort of political rally going on next door, or like a trade show of some sort.
Yeah, like a Guns and Knives exposition.
Yeah.
That's what I was expecting.
Something like that. Yeah, that or a toy show. Loop it all back around. But anyways, it comes time for Brian Ricco interviewing Herb Abrams. Now, Herb Abrams is the owner, the booker of this promotion. Does he look like a promoter?
It's like a lawyer. A real shitty, shysty lawyer.
I felt like they just grabbed someone at random out of the accounting department, and it's just like, who would this fake beard fit on? All right, you're Herb.
But Herb Abrams, and of course he asks a prediction, who do you think's going to win in the main event? And just bluntly says, Dr. Death. Just...
Almost with reluctance, though. Like, he just couldn't wait to get off camera. It's just, gonna go with Dr. Death.
Like,
Gonna go with Dr. Death.
that's your main event. You don't even go, well, maybe it might be Doc, but Bam Bam's really strong. Nope, Dr. Death.
Two of the
Mark it
greatest in
down.
the world. Nope.
No, it's Dr. Death in my mind all the way.
Exactly.
Not even gonna give it another thought. They introduced the ring announcers, which are Craig DeGeorge and living legend Bruno Sammartino. Are you aware of Bruno Sammartino, Ike?
I'm very impressed by Bruno Sammartino's name.
It is a name. It's a fantastic name.
It certainly is.
Sounds like a fake name.
But at this moment in time, I go to a backstage interview with Bam Bam Bigelow. Not the fire-breathing dragon he was in the intro. Just very common man. Just it seems like when you put on a white button-up shirt on Bam Bam, he just becomes a regular guy.
Dude, he's just an asshole from New Jersey at that point.
With remarkable hobility, I will say.
Yes. What do you think hobility is?
There are a few interviews throughout this little ordeal that had me reaching for my thesaurus, although I did not have a New Jersey-based thesaurus, so I wasn't able to look that up. I felt like he was hinting at some sort of promiscuity there.
I was feeling that myself. I was feeling that myself.
It's a man very capable of paying women for sexual favors.
But then he dedicates the match to his son.
Well, it was his third birthday.
Which he was nice enough to miss
Yes.
to come wrestle for the show.
For a small smattering of people in Central Florida.
This show's for you because I'm not going to be there for you.
This is what Daddy left your birthday party for.
Exactly.
Also, too, brought up the probably a very hot line at this time, Mo Money. Big fan of Living Color is Bam Bam Bigelow, but kind of got it wrong. It's like, not more money, more problem. He said more money, more happy.
Not us, just happy.
Just
Yes,
happy.
just more happy. My family actually had throw pillows that had that crocheted. Mo money, mo happy.
Is that your family's crest as well?
Yes, exactly.
Then we go to a Dr. Death backstage interview. Ike, what are your thoughts on Dr. Death's mullet?
It seems very fit for someone, I assume, with a medical background. Going off of his name, it's a mullet with an air of medical knowledge.
Medical knowledge. Does he look like a doctor?
He looks like a doctor in 91 in Florida. I would buy that. Absolutely. Or 2010 in Florida. I feel like there's been no progress in that general area.
Whatever years there was where there was a whole bunch of prescription drugs prescribed to people, whatever year that is,
yes,
that's what, then he would have been a doctor.
That 1 year.
Today? 2016?
And then, of course, the ring announcer goes back and plugs and lets everybody know that the VHS tapes of the show will be available. While he's doing that, he's trying to dodge a fly, showing that this is a true top-notch production.
Absolutely.
A top-notch pay-per-view, which, at this moment in time, that's 11 minutes in, and we have not seen any wrestling whatsoever.
And probably for the better.
Exactly. But when you have the opportunity to pepper the beginning of your program with white guys in 2 shots, I say full steam ahead.
Keep going. One being Bruno San Martino.
All right. Match number 1, the Blackhearts versus Firecat and Jim Cooper.
Now, did they announce him as Fireman at first?
Oh, I'm sure they did. There's
This
many,
announcer
many
is like the worst announcer.
There are many name errors in this, as we will get to throughout.
And weights, especially in the girls' match, which is the best part of the show.
Yes, yes.
But also, see, Firecat has also been called Battle Cat before, which I think there's a particular reason it's escaping my head why, but I think he's running the battle in there. But is Brady Boone and stuff like that, so is Firecat. And of course, the Blackhearts, Apocalypse and Destruction, managed by Luna Vachon. Ike, at the mere sight of Luna Vachon, what pops in your head?
Cruella DeVille came to mind first. If she had like an injecting problem, and after that, the lust just swept over me.
There you go.
At once, the announcer told me that she was quite the looker. And then I was convinced.
If Bruno says she can get it, she can get it.
Well, the man is a living legend.
He
so
is.
He gets what he wants. Anyways, Jim Cooper and Firecat already in the ring with no music. That's always a good sign.
So you know they're going to fare well.
You know they're going to fare well.
Setting up props.
While we were away, fellas.
Blackhearts, though, coming out to that sweet Deep Purple song, Perfect Strangers. God damn, that's a good fucking song.
I'm going to bet nobody wasted a single second trying to clear that music ahead of time. It just happened to be playing in the background.
What do you got? Just play fucking that one.
Yeah, loud as fuck as well. So everybody can hear it. Like, yep, this is Deep Purple, Perfect Strangers. Okay.
When the first 2 guys are coming in, no, take your time.
Let it build the moment.
Exactly.
Build.
Okay. Thoughts on the Blackhearts, Ike?
I am led to believe that at this time you have to go by your given name unless you have an 8-year-old son to give you a nickname. Is that how the process generally worked?
More or less.
Okay.
There's no take your middle name and your street name type thing. But yeah, that's pretty much the process in a nutshell.
I'm glad I was able to pick up on that.
Funny part during commentary, Craig George makes mention of a DDT being hit, but then Bruno San Martino goes, yeah, it was some sort of pile driver type move. And Craig DeGeorge corrects the living legend, a man who's done this for a while.
Probably created the move.
Yeah. Says, no, Bruno, that's a DDT. Now, I don't know if this is because they're trying to avoid any type of copyright infringement towards the WWE. Hence why, mass confusions is called that instead of being called the Killer Bees. But also they did not worry about that when they selected footage for this intro video, which is probably WWF. And they didn't care about clearing that music. But they're worried about saying, well, we don't want to say Jake the Snake Roberts finishing maneuver DDT on here. Heaven forbid we get sued for that.
The 15-minute mark is generally when I start caring about infringement. So.
Well, you're in production. You know how
exactly.
it is. I love how Jim Cooper, at all moments in time during this match, his arms are straight out in front of him, like he's ready to be whipped off the ropes at any minute.
Just ready. Whenever you need me, I'm here. But whenever the time is called upon him, all he does is get the shit beat out of him the entire time with no type of retaliation. Just continue.
Thoughts on this match, gentlemen, before we move on?
It would be remiss to say that Gangrel is actually one of those. Is one of the Black Hearts.
Yes.
My favorite, Gangrel.
I love Gangrel too. He's on my list of guys that I have not wrestled yet.
Jeez,
I cannot wait to lose to.
He's on my list of guys I'm tired of wrestling. And Luna, best worker in this match.
Oh, for sure.
Gotta say it.
For sure.
Can you give me a little bit of the backstory on how it came to be that a manager or whatever third party came to be around in the wrestling history to just sort of fuck things up when the official wasn't looking? Because that was not something I was expecting from my strong wrestling background.
You assume this referee to be on it at all times.
Yes,
no
exactly.
fuckery about it.
Exactly.
You don't see like a Jim Torrey doing anything in his baseball. Pat Riley was not tripping people as they're going down the courts. But I already said Bill Belichick, but we all know how that turns out.
Not to be ruled out.
Not to be ruled out.
So it's still possible.
So I don't know if that's professional football imitating pro wrestling or the seeds have already been in there. Maybe it was long deep in George Hallis's day. Like he did some fuckery as well.
I could be led to believe that Mr. Belichick was in the crowd for this event and thought, that's my move.
Got it.
That's my move.
That's my move. I don't know quite the origins of it, but of course Luna probably did it better than anybody else. Also, we should make note of if people don't know, I don't know if this is a moment in time when Luna is married to Gangrel,
Yes,
David
it is.
Heath, or this was the time where she was married to Tom Nash, the other guy, other tag partner. So tag partners being
Maybe
pitched
a
up.
little bit of both.
I don't know.
Maybe a little tag team. Maybe tag team in and out of the ring.
Yeah, who knows? But like I said, I need to bring it up. I thought that's a very interesting point.
The very least makes for some interesting hotel arrangements.
Yeah.
Yes. Maybe that's that mobility that
Hey.
Big Big was talking about.
Whom was also managed by Luna at one point. Holy shit,
We've
guys,
come
we did
full
it.
circle.
We've come full circle.
Well-
We just solved the Da Vinci Code.
Everybody, thanks for tuning in. This has been How Did This Get Booked?
Then we go to a backstage interview with Luna Vachon, where the Blackhearts make screeching bat sounds.
Whatever-
In the middle of this promo.
Whatever badassery the Blackhearts had, completely lost right there. Hello?
Let me shut this off real quick. Anyways, match 2, street fight between Johnny Ace and Terry Gordy. Thoughts, gentlemen?
I'm not entirely sure what the street fight rules are. It seems to be more of a lack thereof.
Well, neither were they, actually, does it seem.
Oh yeah, there's a very big discrepancy in these whole rules and stuff like that, because anything should be allowed, but apparently countouts count for whatever reason. Like,
Go ahead.
Very much confused. I did a couple rewinds. I don't think I was any more confused than the commentators, but still had no idea what was going on at that time.
well, and the thing is too, Johnny Ace taking the place for Don Morocco. So I'm guessing there was some sort of build there. Don Morocco didn't want to leave Hawaii, so that's where he lives. I don't blame him for not wanting to leave.
Absolutely not.
But we got Johnny Ace, and of course when Johnny Ace comes out, the commentators say that Johnny Ace is getting a 50-50 reaction to the crowd, which I feel like sums up Johnny Ace's entire U.S. career. Kind of a big deal in Japan, maybe not so much in the United States.
Was this about the point in time where one commentator jokingly mocked the other commentator, accusing him of having a subscription to the Japanese wrestling magazine that was in the audience at the time? That was a favorite moment of mine.
That would probably be about this time. This would be a good time for it, for sure. Johnny Ace, of course, being brothers of the Road Warriors, and Terry Gordy being a huge star in Japan, so I would imagine it would have come up during this time. Also, I need to make a point of, like, I find it funny, I think it was Johnny Ace, and that's why I wrote down this note, just sandbagging every move ever. Like, not to spill any secrets revealed, but kind of we help each other in our moves.
A little jump.
And I feel like
I might have caught one or two of those little jumps throughout the telecast.
well, there wasn't a whole lot of them during this match.
Not here, you didn't.
Yeah, and I feel like if you were wrestling during the early 90s and you assisted anybody at all, you probably became a millionaire. Because everybody wanted to work with you. Like, oh, this guy jumps for my moves? Oh, please book me against him.
So it really is the reference system then.
Yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You get wrestling and everything. Also, Craig DeGeorge saying some rather questionable material on commentary, talking about Terry Gordy saying that he's from Bad Street, USA, but I think he's on Queer Street, USA.
Which I took to mean just unstable footing and just poor choice in words.
Badly paved road is what I was thinking.
Yes.
Then, of course, they fight through the crowd to let everybody know how empty this arena is. Just, if you guys didn't know that there wasn't any people there, we're going to remind you of this fact right now.
Everyone in the crowd, act like you're 50 separate people.
You mean
spread out as much as possible.
Exactly.
You mean section 16, row C, seats 1 and 2 that he kept saying constantly?
Or do what they do in action movies sometimes, just have a crowd of people and move them around different places and then CGI them in later.
Yes.
Maybe that was the intent. And then, of course, the bell rings. They're just fighting outside. I thought there were no countouts in street fights. Apparently, I have my wrestling history wrong.
There was more street fighting after the match was ended than during the street fight match.
Oh, yes.
A lot of wrestling in the street fight match.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And of course, I love when the ref is trying to get the guys in the ring, doing the typical ref thing, the bare minimum to get them back in the ring, but also doing like random hand movements. just moving his hands around like, hey guys, hey, maybe you want to get back in. Hey.
Working on his mime class stuff.
Yes,
he was trying to center their chi and align them back into the room, I believe.
Like he almost had like imaginary like ropes around them. Thought he was going to lasso them back in for whatever reason. But yeah, just kind of like more fighting after the bell happened than anything. Any more thoughts before we move on, gentlemen?
Where's the fucking beach at? Just saw this talk of a beach bash, but no beach.
Well, they're in Florida.
Well, even Bash at the beach had a little bit of sand inside.
Well,
I did appreciate the one very clearly stereotypical civic center chair that was brought into the ring just for a little TO. For a little sit down.
Like the padded and nice comfortable.
Yes, that you can clearly see the wrestlers would themselves have to be stacking and aligning against a wall after the match.
That's where all the money goes, is breaking that chair.
Yes, I thought somebody might get hit by that chair, and boy did I feel foolish for that assumption.
But moving right along to match number 3, the Power Twins taking on Mask Confusion, depending on what part of the show you watched. And as I may mention too earlier, these guys are originally the Killer Bees, but obviously you can't use that name because it's the WWF name, because we're honoring WWF copyrights, but not musical copyrights whatsoever. The people that really could sue us. I find it funny, as we found out during this match, they call it Mask Confusion. The reason why it's Mask Confusion is because they both stumble outside the ring, they put masks on, and they switch and they get into the ring, which is cheating. And I find it laughable that we put that in their name. Their name is going to be Mask Confusion. Like they mix people up. Like that's like the Patriots not legally be calling the Patriots anymore and just calling them the Deflators.
Just own it, man. Just go with it.
I guess I guess they just couldn't come up with hey, it's B. Brian Blair and Jim Brunzell. No, let's just put the way we cheat to win our matches in the title of our name.
I believe as I was watching this the first time, I have to admit I cheated a little bit and rewatched part of it today to catch up. I texted you in the moment when they were first announcing who would be in each bout to tell you I, as of that moment, became the world's largest Mask Confusion fan, basing that simply from the pun in their name.
Well, they did live up expectations for you?
I did an honest-to-God fist pump after the match that I am not completely proud of, but in the moment, nothing but just jubilance.
But yeah, I mean, good tag match.
Yeah, it really was. It was not bad.
Of matches go longest match on the entire card, by the way.
Minus the street fighting part of the street fight.
yes. The only
Minus the street argument part of the street
disagreement
fight.
Exactly.
on
the
bad,
aftermath, if you will.
on bad/queer street.
Also should bring up about the Power Twins. They came out with the Fly Swatters, so that kind of explains why Killer Bees, you know what I'm saying, like Fly Swatters. That probably shed some light on why they did that, but also should shed some light on their names. Power Twins. Larry Power and David Power. If there was ever names that strike fear in the heart of men, it's two twins named Larry Power and David Power. Just love it. But Power Twins, of course, they hugged before the match to incite all of the homophobic rage in the wrestling fans, because that's what they do for heels. Anything else about this match that strikes your fancy, gentlemen?
The double moonsault deal at the end was real cool, and that was about really it. It wasn't that bad of a match. There's not a lot to shit on.
No, great.
Speaking of, an excellent segue, I have to ask, in general, I have been hit in the stomach at times playing football growing up, and I have to ask what the wrestling situation is around absorbing such a blow and then reluctantly losing control of your bowels during the match.
Oh, that is a common fear of mine. I know a couple wrestlers that, they've lost that war many a times.
I feel like it could be a strategic maneuver, but during one of the kicks to the stomach, I was not betting on whichever power twin it was being able to hold that sphincter resiliency.
Stretching his O-ring a bit there, not to shit on one of those bees.
Secret of mine, a little bit of full disclosure of my early career, I took poop stoppers, Imodium AD, before every match for probably about a year because I was terrified of shitting myself. Because I wore a white singlet. There would be no hiding it whatsoever, so I was terrified of that day ever coming. So.
That could have been your thing. It might have taken off.
Yeah,
oh, man. Chocolate stain. Jake Manning. Brown lightning.
But anyways, good match. Yeah, liked it, dig it, love it. Moving right along to match number 4. Candy Divine versus Rockin' Robin. Rockin' Robin, of course, coming out to the Rockin' Robin song as well. I'm not worried about copyright of that either.
Whatever.
No. Candy Divine, looks good at this time, but let you know that she still wrestles today.
What?
So, yes.
Her grandchildren must be very proud of her.
What are your thoughts on the ladies' attire, Ike, for this match?
I felt like it would make for a good transition if they were to then be extras in the Running Man movie.
Okay, all right.
Especially with I'm going to go ahead and call them shoulder pads.
Yeah.
Even though the announcers were baffled at what to call such extravagance.
And what they did, too. Why would you wear that? I don't know.
Because in Florida, 1991 is still the 80s. It makes perfect sense.
Listen, I came from Iowa. We were still in early days of the Reagan presidency, so that's where we were at. Anyways, about this match, guess it was a title match. We didn't find that out till after the match. It's almost like at the end of the match, I'm like, oh, yeah, here, give him this title.
By the way, there were stakes to that.
Yes. By the way, there was something very important about this match. You should have known from the get-go.
He's got a champion now.
The announcers very much led me to believe that it was quite the upset because they described one of the combatants as, I believe, luscious, vivacious, beautiful, and talented, whereas they described her competitor only as vivacious, which I felt at least implied a talent gap of some sort, which had me feeling warm-hearted that I was already rooting for the underdog.
You were there.
Not to objectify any of the ladies that are on this show, but since there are 3 of them, I feel like maybe we should play a little game in a sense between Luda Vachon, Rockin' Robin, and Candy Divine. Fuck, marry, kill, gentlemen. I'm very interested to hear your answers.
Yeah, I know, right?
Because I know you love this game. This is part of the reason I want to play it. I want to see what your reactions are to it.
I'll save my hand.
You'll save your hand?
Non-fan?
I gotta say I'm terrified of Luna. So having her out of my existence will make my testicles feel a little more secure in their manhood. And to I have to reward the champion, so I'll go ahead and marry Miss Rockin'. And just go ahead and fornicate with Miss Divine.
Okay. All right.
Okay. So, we'll go ahead and get rid of Candy Divine. She does nothing for me.
Okay.
That bitch is dead.
All right.
Now I come to a quandary. Now, I love me some Luna,
Yes.
but I adore me some Rockin' Robin. So, only because I can only handle that weird freaky shit for a certain amount of time.
Like 8 months?
Yeah, I'll fuck Luna
Yeah.
and marry Rockin' Robin, even though her and I don't play for the same team that she prefers. So, I'm going to marry Rockin' Robin, fuck Luna Vachon, and kill Candy Divine.
Okay. I like those choices. I'm right with you on Luna. I would definitely fuck Luna for sure. There's some crazy stuff there, but only can handle about 8 months of that.
Yeah, can't take too much.
I'm quite concerned about any brand of snake play going on in that.
See, I embrace it. I'm ready to take all that on, and also with the sense, I would marry Candy Divine because I know she's crazy, but a manageable type of crazy.
Okay.
And like I said, I'm willing to tackle that, and it's wouldn't be since I hate myself so much. I'm sure there'd be a lot of situations where like. Fucking Candy. You know what I'm saying? Like,
should have married Rockin' Robin.
Yeah.
So long as you have Dr. Death there with his prescription pad,
Yep.
should be able to keep those moods in check.
Exactly. And unfortunately, I'd have to kill Rockin' Robin, but she did run into a rough patch probably a couple years ago. She lost her entire property because of Hurricane Katrina. So I don't want her to go through that type of suffering, so I'll just go ahead and kill her before that happens.
This is a pity kill?
Very noble of you.
Moving right along to match number 5. But before we get to match number 5, there is a very wonderful video package going over the long history of how this match came to be between Paul Orndorff and Colonel De Beers. Can we talk about this video package, please?
I wish they had given us some sort of time frame as to how long ago the video package was shot. I have to hope, maybe the 1860s, just for the... I hesitate to use the word racial overtones when your gimmick seems to be literally curb stomping black people. The whipping, very uncomfortable.
Whipping of Soul Train.
Yes.
Soul Train. He has a name. Okay.
Yeah, Mr. Stand Up for Rights now. Can't say the man's name.
I was a little uncomfortable calling him that, but if that's what he's asked people to, I got it from birth. Soul Train.
Christian name.
Mr. Train.
Yes.
Yes, the video package, I believe the first line of it was, "I don't want to have a black man as a referee," I believe was the line.
Yeah. Screaming, "You can't do that," but pointing at the ref.
Yes.
You can't be black.
Yeah.
And I feel like he at least worded it much more PC than 82% of the audience would have in that given moment.
For a slight moment, they agreed. They're like, yeah, I mean, he's kind of right.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he shouldn't be in a position of power as indicated by vertical stripes.
No.
Also, too, a note about UWF, they actually played the reruns on ESPN Classic now because ESPN owns the rights to this. So knowing that they own the rights of that footage, I don't know why this video package did not appear somewhere in the O.J. Simpson 30 for 30 when they were talking about the racial overtones. I feel like this would have been a great piece of footage to just pipe in between him running at USC and all the Black Panther stuff and the Watts riots.
Absolutely. R.I.P. Tupac.
Anyways, so we have this whole buildup of how shitty Colonel De Beers is to black people, and we have white guy Paul Orndorff coming to the rescue of all black people.
Of course,
yes. Yes.
And this is both but fine. Like, you mean to tell me that like there isn't an Iceman King Parsons, Junkyard Dog, a Brickhouse Brown? There isn't another black wrestler on the planet that couldn't defend the honor of African Americans?
Are you trying to tell me that Paul Orndorff ain't got soul?
No, he obviously had soul because he came out to MC Hammer's.
Right? Holy shit!
I appreciate that someone at the decision-making level said, find me the guy who looks like he holds the records for Winnebago sales in Minnesota. Get him here to fight this racist asshole. Everyone will get it.
He showed up.
Oh, but he's defending the honor of black people. What should we do? Just have him come up to MC Hammer.
Yeah, exactly. Right it plays Paul Orndorff's like, what the fuck is this?
He said what Colonel De Beers said.
And Colonel De Beers was like, hey bro, calm down.
It's just a song, right? It's got a good beat.
Look, it's gonna get over, kid.
Yeah. But like, no Tony Atlas, no Coach Reed. Like, I think Coco Beware is still working for WWF at this time, but like, you can't get one black African American wrestling superstar to defend the honor. Like,
nope. Got Paul Orndorff.
It's like this is the blindside version of professional wrestling. Like, black people can't be helped unless they have a white person helping them. Like,
well, they were gonna get Sandra Bullock, but she was busy filming the net, so she couldn't do it.
But of course, Colonel De Beers, South African gimmick. No South African accent whatsoever.
Yes.
He's originally from Missouri, born.
He moved.
Yeah, he moved.
Which I have to believe is how quite the swath of the Americans age, looking at the 500 people in the crowd, let's say 5 to 71, learned of apartheid.
History lesson.
Yes.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Like, Colonel De Beers, ripped from the obscure headlines, but here's the thing, too. This isn't the first time he's done, like, an obscure cultural gimmick. He actually wrestled in Portland under a Indian-based character, because in Portland at the time there was a character called Bhagwana Shir Rajneesh. I apologize to anybody of Indian descent for butchering that, but he's also known as the Aso or whatever. He was a guru and he started his own community in like the Oregon area. And basically he was trying to start a large commune and a large community, and he basically had these people be a part of the community, and one of the things they did is they ran for political office, and so they could get more control over the area and do things politically and stuff like that. He was a refugee from India because he was some sort of guru and doing all kinds of nefarious things. And he was now in this rural Oregon area, so there's a lot of tension with him. So Colonel De Beers obviously patterned a character after him, like he was a part of that commune or whatever. So here's this guy from Missouri pretending that he is from India as some sort of guru, some large, terrorist type. And I can use the word terrorist because his people, to win the elections, they committed one of the largest acts of bioterrorism in U.S. history, where they basically put salmonella all over a salad bar in town and infected 751 people and hospitalized 45 people.
That's a big fucking salad bar.
Yeah,
exactly.
I hope the manager of that Ryan Steakhouse was able to find further employment.
So Colonel De Beers like, yeah, I'm going to do a gimmick saying I'm a sympathizer with them. You know what I'm saying? Like, I am the Shir Rajneesh follower and stuff like that. So ripped from the obscure headlines is how he comes up with his gimmick.
Yeah.
And naturally, from there, your next step is fuck black people.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like, he's just...
But he succeeds at it because when we come back from all the... I called them lowlights, but when we come back from this video package, there's a white referee. He has shunned this black referee, no longer employed. Comes back, there's a white man there.
Just, like, yeah, exactly. Just... I guess he won the war, you know?
Talk about white privilege.
Another case of these white people coming over here and taking all of our semi-pro wrestling referee positions.
Goddamn crackers.
Of course, Paul Orndorff winning the match, waving the American flag.
Too legit to quit.
But then Colonel DeBeers pulls out a taser, and I like how the ring announcers, the commentators say, that's a device that ladies use. I think you're thinking of a vibrator, sir. This is a taser, and cops have those, and they do a pretty good job of using that on black people.
It all comes
back
full
around.
circle.
We've done it again, guys. It's 2 in 1 show.
Paul Orndorff doing a wonderful job of selling that taser shot and just shaking. Like, imagining what that feels like.
Yes, I like to think that his note beforehand is once you're tased, lie on the ground and count to 30, which then took Paul Orndorff 48 seconds to do.
Start over once.
Any more thoughts before we move on away from this match?
I felt good that I was able to take the pulse of Florida in 1991 and go out on a limb and state that Mr. America, who loves kids and cures cancer in his spare time, was then able to come out victorious over our racist, terrorist, non-rule-abiding friend.
America's won another one. Moving right along to the captain's corner of Captain Lou Albano, where he sort of interviews the Black Hearts and Luna.
As if we haven't had enough of them.
Yes.
My question, did part of this interview get cut for time? It seemed like maybe something was spilled and they said, hey, Cap, go out and fill 20 seconds. And then get the fuck out of the ring. We got more wrestling to do.
I was thinking the opposite. Like, he was actually supposed to have an actual segment with him. And like, no, you only got 2 minutes for this segment. Because he's like, come out here, I want to interview you. And then he goes, I don't want to interview you guys. You guys are the worst. And throws the microphone down and leaves.
Like a woman abandoning her taser, he dropped the mic and skedaddled.
He's gone.
Like, I don't know if it was like Captain Lou's like, fuck this, I'm going to the bar. Like, I'm not going to waste.
Well, that was a given.
That's a given.
Verbal.
Like, notorious alcoholic Captain Lou Albano. So, I don't know. Maybe we're for the better for him not speaking very long on live pay-per-view. Like,
yeah, like, look, I will work with racists. I will work with people who pull weapons out and assault combatants who are not paying attention. The day I work with snakes will be a cold day in hell, my friends.
Anybody associated with the occult, I'm not interested. Like, none whatsoever. But I need the money, so I at least try my best.
Now, where are my nachos?
And my vodka. Match number 6. Ivan Koloff with Mr. Red taking on Bob Backlund. Now, this would be an appropriate match to wave the American flag, would we say so?
Nope.
Also, Ivan Koloff with Mr. Red. Mr. Red managing Ivan Koloff. Mr. Red definitely does not look like a communist whatsoever. Like, seems like he's very much in favor of capitalism.
The white mullet sort of said leaning towards socialism. To me, communism, I felt, was a step too far.
Not wearing one speck of red, though.
So far, can we say that we figured out the best mullet on the show so far?
I think we've just gotten there.
We've just got there. Mm-hmm. Okay, 'cause I wanted to bring up at least here because I think Johnny Ace is kind of in a hot running, but Mr. Red, platinum.
Yes,
blonde,
absolutely.
One of those mullets, like, how do you keep every hair in place?
Because I'm here to slay puss, my friend.
Everyone here is now wet. But Dr. Death's mullet has a PhD, so I mean, if we're gonna marry fuck kill mullets here, I'm gonna marry Dr. Death because at least he has a good job.
Okay, well, which mullet are you going to kill?
Well, Mr. Reds, of course. I'm not a goddamn commie.
Oh, now I feel terrible. I was lining up the knife behind old Ace there in his mullet.
Well, I'm
now I've been called a communist.
Yeah.
Of course, Mr. Red gets the pants because that's what everybody wants to see.
It's the most that man's ever ran in his entire life.
Oh, for sure. Video montage to set up our next match number 7. Cowboy Bob Orton and Cactus Jack, not AKA, but actually Mick Foley, taking on Sunny Beach and Stevie Ray.
That was Mick Foley?
That was Mick Foley.
I was not aware of that.
Time to update some wrestling knowledge, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. I now wonder how many of these guys I've performed stand-up comedy with.
Well, I mean, Cowboy Bob Orton's got some stories. I'm pretty sure he's got about a good 10, for sure.
He's got a solid feature set.
Oh, for sure. Especially he talks about how he can't go back to certain towns in Japan because he pissed off the Yakuza. Those stories alone just gives him at least 10. So, of course, managed by John Tolis, the Golden Greek, doing his coach gimmick. Suspended from the ceiling in a cage. But it seems like by the time he got up to where he was supposed to be, the match was already over.
Yes, I feel like he was frequently alluded to. Never really got much screen time in his cage, 30 feet above it all.
Above it.
Yeah,
The floor,
got
the
him
ring.
just high enough, and then the match was over. Also, too, I believe there was some wrestling footage of him in the intro. Some of that black and white footage. I think some of his earlier wrestling, because he was actually a legendary wrestler, I believe, out of the Los Angeles area. So they used some of his footage as well. He was definitely one of the pictures that were scrolling across the ring when they were talking about tradition and everything else in the beginning. Legendary wrestler John Tolis. Of course, Bob Orton Jr. and Cactus Jack coming out to the Bonanza theme, because why not? Let's just keep...
Because white America!
You're a cowboy, I'm a cactus. It fucking works.
I will say, in their little two-shot before the events got started, it took me a while to decide who was Cactus Jack and who was the cowboy before saying, oh, cowboy hat, stupid, and feeling terrible about myself for the range of the night.
Also, what are your thoughts on Wet and Wild? Stevie Ray and Sunny Beach.
Sunny Beach, fuck you.
I could not be more in favor of any combination of someone named Stevie Ray working with Sunny fill in the blank as you must. My mind immediately leaps to both Wet and, of course, Wild.
Oh, yes.
Of course, coming out to Beach Boys, because once again, why not? I'm sure they don't have fantastic copyright lawyers available to them. Great hands by Cowboy Bob Orton, catching, I believe it was brass knucks or something, from John Tolis from the cage. Excellent hands.
Could have had a career in baseball.
Yeah, and like I said, it took a little bit longer to get John Tolis up before the match was even over. Very short. Would really love to see this go on a little bit longer.
Yeah, I feel like we've already discussed it longer than it actually
the match
took
occurred,
place.
Yeah, like, I mean, as we've talked about in a previous podcast, Zane, Cowboy Bob Orton, great match with Jimmy Snuka, and that happened, like 10 years after this happened. Having Bob Orton having taken 10 years off, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm sure he could still go and do a thing or two.
Sir.
So
Now, enlighten me. How much are we not seeing on the telecast? Like, if you were there in the audience in person, I assume that it's longer between matches. Is there anything they're cutting out, or it's moving them in and out like that?
So that's the thing. There is the clip that I gave you was the VHS version. There is a pay-per-view version, YouTube version, but since I had a VHS copy and I burned a DVD of it and I gave one to Zane, I only want to do the VHS, so we're all the same. But I will say the running time is the exact same.
Okay.
And I don't think the high, top-notch production values of Herb Abrams could afford too much video editing in the VHS. It's not Coliseum Video run by UWF. So I imagine pretty much what we saw was about almost exactly what you saw on pay-per-view, which was live.
Okay.
So what you saw on that pay-per-view, and it was done live in real time.
At that with that in mind, I was very curious, and you'll have to forgive me, I don't remember which of the tag team matches it was, but one of the wrestlers, much like a movie character or a video game character, only once used his power of teleportation to go from nowhere near on screen to the middle of the ring, but used it to inflict no damage, just sort of a, hey guys, I'm here.
Oh, and bye.
Oh, fantastic. Now we have reached the time for our main event match number 8. Bam Bam Bigelow taking on Dr. Death Steve Williams. They do a video package.
Another one.
Just
so many packages.
Talking about, how... Well, that's the thing, too. Video package during this time. There's not a Titantron, so people in the live audience are not seeing these video packages. So they're probably just sitting in dark in silence while all this is going on.
Just
for
listening
us.
to the Beach Boys.
Yeah, just listen to the Beach Boys because, hey, why not? Just talking about Bam Bam Bigelow beating up people in the early rounds. Dr. Death showing a clip of him just chucking Stevie Ray like he didn't give a fuck about him. Of course, Bam Bam Bigelow talking about how he's going to have a new outfit, the whole time. And he comes out to what we know, me and Zane know, as his traditional Bam Bam Bigelow outfit.
Normal.
Yeah, like it's what we know him at. It's what he wore when he was in WWF, his second run. And so, basically his new outfit is basically just... I almost wonder if he took this booking so he could have enough money to pay for a new outfit so that he could then use it on a bigger stage of WWF down the line.
Now, how deep into history does Bam Bam Bigelow run? Because I will tell you, I had older family members who were quite into wrestling, and I do remember one time being slammed down the steps in my grandmother's house after my slightly older cousin yelled Bam Bam Bigelow and then threw me over a guardrail.
Sounds about right.
Oh, yeah, he had been around probably mid-'80s.
He was probably on that game that you played with Papa Shango.
Oh, yes, he definitely probably would have been. He was
Okay.
definitely in all the WWF Sega games, for sure. During that era, yeah, because he was early 90s. He was very, very, very popular.
Okay.
He was also the wrestler that wrestled Lawrence Taylor during his foray into professional wrestling, if you remember that at all.
I have heard of Lawrence Taylor. I know him from, I'm going to assume, his earlier work with the
You mean the
New York
cocaine
Giants.
use?
Yes.
with drugs?
Anytime I say the New York Giants, obviously I am alluding to cocaine use, but we're trying to keep it PG, I believe.
Oh, fuck, you're right.
Okay, I'm trying to read my notes right here. Anyways, Dr. Death. Every time I see Dr. Death, I always have to be remembered of the time when I tried to put on mass as a professional wrestler, and my hopes were to look like Dr. Death. I was like, yeah. At one point in time, I got up to 270 pounds. Unfortunately, I did not look like Dr. Death. I just looked like a tubby bastard.
Looked like death.
I looked like, yes, I was Death. Of course, the tights pulled up real high, but, Dr. Death has always been seen as a very legitimate tough man. Both these guys legitimate tough man. Bam Bam Bigelow, I believe, was a bounty hunter at a short period of time. So both these guys are legitimate tough guys. Do you believe them as being legitimate tough guys, Ike?
I would censor myself around them, as I am known to do around alpha males.
Okay. Yes, they would be the type to probably have sex with you in prison. With or without your consent, for sure.
But for protection.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. What intro this has? Oh, the two people intro the person. I'm trying to go over my notes and stuff like that. In this match, both men get bloody. Ike, what are your thoughts on blood in professional wrestling?
I don't have my notes in front of me. I do know that I made note that we had made it quite a long ways into the event before I saw any blood whatsoever, which seemed strange given how frequently I bleed with the lightest contact to my face. So once it happened, I was more astounded than anything.
Because there's a new movement now, not to do it quite as much. People feel it's a little barbaric because of our the practices and blood and everything else. But like the old timers will always say, red means green. There's always a situation you got to make them believe.
And I believe this was still pre-Magic Johnson coming out as the spokesperson for
by
HIV.
About a year or two. We're probably about 2 or 3 years away from that, I believe. We're roughly about that time period, yes.
Okay, so the general consensus then is we've all got hepatitis anyway.
I guess.
Let's go for it.
Neither one of us are gay. We're fine. We're not getting AIDS. So, even though you've probably used a dirty tattoo needle probably once in your life, Bam Bam Bigelow, you're fine because you're not gay.
Exactly.
So that's all we know. Ronald Reagan told us that. We're okay.
We like to fuck hot chicks to sweet queen songs just like everybody else.
And obviously you're paying prostitutes on a regular basis because you got mobility.
Exactly.
So
he has a stable.
Yeah, so you're obviously fine because you're not homosexual.
Yeah.
So that's what we know from 1991.
Don't worry, never will anyone famous contract the disease.
Especially a professional athlete.
Exactly.
Anyways, thoughts on this match? Good? Did it deliver as a main event?
It was a match.
I have to say I personally preferred all of the tag team events. It's just the only time I let out a victorious yelp was for my mask confusion brethren.
So that was what incited you. But yeah, it was just kind of just a match and kind of short too. Under 10 minutes. I mean, mask confusion did about 12 minutes bell to bell. So like obviously far more work was put in by the undercard guys. But like I kind of expected this match to go a little bit longer.
Be
put
worth
some
the
time.
hype.
Yeah, be worth the hype, and it's the first crowning a champion. Of course, Dr. Death and Herb have a post-match interview. Shots fired by Herb for his competitors feeling high on God in the sense that, like, I just did my first pay-per-view in front of 550 people. You better watch out, Vince McMahon. Ted Turner, you're next.
Now, I'm going to be completely ignorant here. Ted Turner threw his hat into the wrestling ring at some point?
WCW.
Okay, I have heard of the WCW. Did not know that Mr. TBS was involved.
Yes. Oh, very much. A very big supporter of professional wrestling. I think he enjoyed it. I have to say he was a big fan of it. I think he actually, Ted Turner has mentioned that the thing that saved TBS for a very long time was his wrestling program. The very early days of TBS, like nobody was watching it, and his program was very lackluster. But he had some of the best professional wrestling and quality professional wrestling in Georgia Championship Wrestling and the Superstation and stuff like that. So he had a ton of loyal viewers, and he made mention that because of wrestling, he was able to keep his doors open of TBS. And actually, some of those wrestlers that was a Georgia-based company, it was aired all over the place, and there was a group of large concentration of people in Ohio that were big WCW fans, like in the early days, and this small group in Georgia back when wrestling was so territorialized, like you never saw like a group, like a New York group would never go down south. The LA group would never go anywhere past like Vegas or whatever. The Portland group was only, Oregon and Washington State and stuff like that. So they would never be doing things globally like we all know today. But WCW was going to Ohio for shows because the Superstation reached all the way to Ohio. So it was a big deal. And Ted Turner talks very fondly about how much he loves professional wrestling. That's why he kept it on his network forever. He says, as long as I'm in charge, wrestling will always have a place on my network. Only problem is he sold to Time Warner. Time Warner thought wrestling was beneath them. That's why very shortly after that sale, they axed everybody. They wanted to put on quality programming like Vegas and Rosie Hall and the Siles and quite an hour-long dramas of hard-hitting content.
Wasn't that sale in the early 2000s when everyone I went to high school with was asking me if I could smell what The Rock was cooking?
Yes, that would be that time.
Excellent business decision, Time Warner.
Yes, wrestling is the most hottest thing in the entire world. Sure, you're not getting the ratings you used to, but you are still getting triple what the second competitor is getting today. So... I need to mention something about Herb Abrams. I don't know if you guys did any more research on this show, but what I know about Herb Abrams is quite interesting. And when I Wikipedia him, this is quite possibly one of my favorite, if not the best Wikipedia entries that I have ever read before in my entire life.
Wow.
Now, Herb Abrams, CEO, booker of the company, started this UWF promotion, trying to, take on the big boys of, Ted Turner and Vince McMahon in this professional wrestling game. He ran the UWF between 1990 to 1992, and then he tried to bring it up again in 1994. But Herb Abrams, while a supporter of professional wrestling and tradition, excellence, and the essentials of showmanship, rather interesting individual. I don't really know what his background was. All it says is wrestling promoter on his Wikipedia page. I was wondering if it would shed light on whether he was a lawyer, a junk bonds stock seller, but none of the sort. But there is quite a bit of information about his last couple hours. Before his death, while high on cocaine, Abrams was found naked, covered in a Vaseline-type substance, destroying furniture with a baseball bat in his New York office. He was in the company of prostitutes, plural, at the time. Not long afterwards, he died while in police custody of a heart attack, and he had cocaine stuck all over his body while he died.
Well, obviously, when slathered in Vaseline, it's not going to just flake off with a gentle breeze.
Yes. I find that to be a very interesting way to go. And both of these, and the sources on that are Mick Foley's book and Dr. Death Steve Williams' book. So two people that had a close alliance with Herb Abrams. It's pretty reliable sources nonetheless.
That's how I want to go.
Yeah, I mean, I guess he had his own brand of hobility.
We brought it back around for sure. General thoughts on the overall show before we wrap this up, gentlemen?
There's a reason it's on this podcast.
I myself enjoyed this broadcast so much. I've dabbled into, I believe, the 1994 Blackjack.
Oh, that's another
this one. Next up on YouTube.
Yes.
Thank you to YouTube for introducing me to all of these things I somehow managed to miss during the early 90s.
You were not in Palmetto, Florida. No. You were not one of the lucky 550 people that were in attendance that night. But the magic of YouTube has brought it back around to you. So. But yeah, we'll get to the Blackjack Brawl, I'm sure, at some point in time. Maybe we'll invite you back since you've already done the homework.
On the return.
Yeah. But anyways, before we get out of here, this will go up tomorrow, Ike. Recording this on a Wednesday. This will go up immediately. I'm going to send this off to my producer, Don, and luckily he works late night Wednesday, so he's going to get it up tomorrow. Is there anything you want to plug before we get out of here?
No, just wanted to say thank you guys for letting me be a part of this. I enjoyed it much more than I possibly could have imagined. So this has been great.
Okay. Zane, you got anything you want to push before you get out of here?
No, I'm going to get real drunk and watch the UFC fight Saturday. I'm not even wrestling this weekend. So.
Okay. Well, good on you. I appreciate it. Also, if we're going to plug anything, we should let people know that How Did This Get Booked t-shirts are available on howdidthisgetbooked.com. I believe I set up the store right. Still very new at Squarespace. Best way to find that out, fans, is that you go ahead and you buy one, and if something wonky happens or no money gets taken out of your account or $17,000 comes out of your account, just come in contact with me and we'll rectify the situation immediately. Or maybe we won't, and I'll just run off. I'll start my own wrestling promotion and end in a fiery Vaseline cocaine-covered blaze. So
aspire to your own hobility one day.
But anyways, as a reminder, if there's any corrections or mistake, make sure you tweet me at ManScoutManning. Like I said, log on to howdidthisgetbooked.com. Make sure you subscribe on iTunes and Google Play. Also, don't forget to subscribe for the YouTube video at youtube.com/ManScoutManning. Also, to follow on SoundCloud at soundcloud.com/ManScoutManning. This has been another edition of How Did This Get Booked? Woo!